So today we are going to start functions. We will learn what are functions, how to write function, why we use functions, and different topics around functions. And till the end of this video, you will have a better understanding related to functions. So let's start this video. Now, first of all, if I talk about function is a really important topic. But why? Why we require function? We require function. It helps. Basically, what is a function? If I talk about the definition, it is a, let me just, of the inline solutions. Yeah. So function is a block of organized reusable code designed to perform a specific task. I know you can't able to understand this, but don't worry. So here what I have written, it is a block of organized reusable code designed to perform a specific task. First of all, basically how to write a function. To write a function, we use def keyword. Then we write function name. Suppose I write function name add, then use parenthesis, then colon, then indentation, and then the statement that we want to execute. For example, I want to do uh, result equals to a plus b. Okay. Here I have to create variables. Suppose a is 10 and b is 12. Now here you can see I have written def, then add parenthesis, then colon, then result equals to this. So basically what is this? This is a function we have created. How we have created? Basically this is the, here we have, here we are defining our function. That's why we use a def keyword, means defining. Then how we define a function? By using its name. Here add is a name of our function. Then we write here parenthesis, then colon, and then the statement that our function will execute. This is our task that our function will execute. Okay. Now we have, now I have made, now this function will, what will perform? It will perform a plus b and it gets stored in result. So if I tell you that if I run this command, but nothing happens, we have created, and what if I write print here? Suppose I write print inside our function, print, then result. Will our result be printed? No, still not printed. Why? Because we have defined our function to execute the task that we have defined in our function. For that, we have to call our function. Call our function means we want to wherever we call our function, at that place we want to execute that function. Now how do we call the function? We just simply write the name of function and then again parenthesis. Here what we have done, here we have called our function. Okay. Between defining our function and after the defining function, before the calling function, everything is just about that the task that our function will execute. First, it will store the result of a plus b in result variable, then print that result, and then our function ends. So moving forward, I will tell you that our interpreter, how it see the function. First, he will go to this. He sees that a is equals to 10. Okay, so he have store the value of 10 inside a. Then our interpreter will store value of 12 inside v. Now, then he will directly come to our function call. He will he will not read this def add result everything else. He will directly move to our caller function, that he will see yes there is a function which name is add and I need to call this. That means I need to execute this function whose name is add. Now he will go to that function and he will see that what task this function need to perform. Then that task will be performed. Now if I run this command, then I will got 22, which is 10 plus 12. So this is the basically mean a function is. If I again read this definition, function is a block of organized. Yes, it is organized and reusable. Why reusable? If I again call this function, then two times I will get the result. Again, if I write this function, then again I will get result. Okay, so that's why it is called the reusable. It is a reusable code designed to perform a specific task. This function will perform only addition of a plus b, nothing else, and print that. So function is a block of organized usable code designed to perform specific tasks. And more thing about function is that it improves readability of code. If we use function in our code, then it improves the understanding of code, that other person can understand our code more easily. Yeah, it also improves reusability. We can use those function how many time we wants. It also help in debugging. Debugging of code would be easy. Suppose rather than making this function, we write result equal to a plus b whenever we want. In suppose we have 1,000 lines of code and we want this code many times. Then if we want to make changes in code, suppose we want to make this a to c, then we want to go every line of that code where we have written this code if we want to make changes. But if we have created a function and we just need to do changes in a single line of code, because function is created one time and we can use that function by calling that function many times. That's why it is improve reusability and also easy in debugging, and also reduce the size of code. Okay, so this is the basic concepts of function, and this is how we define a function. Now, now we have also seen the syntax of a function. Now we will talk about parameters, and also we will talk about arguments. So what are parameters and arguments? So first of all, if I talk about parameters, let me just remove this. Suppose I don't have any variable like this and I create a def function which name is sub. Now I want to store result of a minus b, and then I will print this result, and how this function is going to execute by calling. Now here I have created a simple function of subtraction, but here we have not defined a, and also we have not defined our b. So there is a way that you can give a and b a and b any value. How? By using parameters and arguments. Let me just give you an example. Like I have written here 20, 30, 20. Now I have written here a comma b. Now you can see our error is not shown now. You can see for before I have not written this code. A is shown not defined, B is also shown as not defined. Now there is nothing error like that. So what happened actually here? Here the value I have written here in calling, these are called arguments. And the A and B I have written here are called parameters. Here A and B are parameters, 30 and 20 are arguments. So basically arguments are the values that we pass to the parameters while defining a function, and we pass the argument when we call the function, and we write the parameters when we are defining our function. So you can say that parameters are like the local variables of a function. These are like variables inside a function, and these values are 30 and 20, which are passed when we call our function. So 30 goes to A, 20 goes to B, and same values used here. Those A and B we have used inside our function. So if I run this command, we got our value 10. Okay, so what is the definition of a parameter? So parameters are like variables inside parentheses while defining a function and its value are provided by arguments. And okay, so like parameters are like variables. What are arguments? Elements within a comma separated, we can say lists enclosed enclosed by parenthesis in a function call. In a function call. Elements within a comma separated list include a parenthesis. So if I write here plus c, then we want to pass c as a parameter and we want to pass its value. So what we will got our answer 50. So we can add as many arguments and parameters as we want. If I remove c, now then I run this command, we got an error because we have three arguments, but we have passed only two parameters. But what if I pass p and remove this? Will this give us error? Yes, this will also give us error. Why? Because parameter are three and arguments are two. So this is, you need to take care of that. As many arguments you take, same number of parameters should be there. Now you can notice that A goes 30 goes to B, 20 goes to B, 40 goes to C. So here if I change 30 to 20 and 20 to 30, A and B value get reversed. So this is called a positional arguments. One more thing, before moving forward, there is one more topic. We also use a return keyword also. If so, basically, if return basically what we do, it transfer control back to the place where the function is called. What did I say? Return statement basically it is optional and it is used to return the value from the function. Basically, it is used to exit the current function that is being executed and it also transfer the control back to the point where function is called. What is the return statement? First of all, I will give you example. Suppose here we have, if I run this command, we will not get any output. Why? Because we have returned this value to the point where the function is called. But we have to print this. Now we got our output 50. I have told you that return is used, first of all, it is used to exit the function and it transfer control back to the point where function is called. So if we use return here, so we have to either we can use this, we can type this code, print the inside print, we have to write the function call, or there is another way. We can what we can do, we simply create another variable, suppose x, and we store the function call 30, 20, 40, and we just print this x. This will, this is same. This will give us same the out. If we use return, then we can either directly print the function call or we store the function call inside another variable and print that variable. Okay. What if we do here plus 1? What will happen? Here we got 51. Our value will get updated. Why? Because I have told you that return transfer back the, basically it transfer this result to the point where the function is called. So here instead of when this function is executed, here this function call will become the value that this function will do. Basically, the here function is created a value 50 and then we have returned the result. Then this result will go to the function call and we basically at the backend we get the value as 50 and we have write plus 1, so we got the value as 51. I hope you understand. If you have any doubt, then you can comment. Okay, so this is the return. It is not necessary, it is an optional. You can also execute the function using print statement also. Sorry, used to basically exit current function is being executed. And another thing about the return, it transfer control back to the point where function is called. It transfer. Okay, this is about return. Now we will talk about the types of arguments. There are two types of arguments. First one is positional arguments, and second one is keyword arguments. We have also default arguments. Okay. So in positional argument, this is a type of example of positional argument because the values in arguments and parameters depends on their position. If I change the position of values, then the value of A, B, C got changed. So this is the example of positional arguments. So arguments are matched with parameters defined in function using position. It depends on values of parameter depends on position. Now keyword arguments. If I first of all talk about the positional arguments, sorry, keyword argument. Here I have done A is equals to no. See what I have here done. I have assigned value A as 40 now. Now A will remain 40 always. It do not depend on the position. For B and C, now it depend on position. But for A, it will be always be 40, whatever the position is. Okay, so sorry, I have also created here. Now if I run this, I will got 50 because same value we have used here. If I do this as B and give it as A, now we got 10. So keyword arguments, basically we define in the arguments only that which value will get what. So these did not depend on the position. We can't change their value by changing the position, and it also very helpful because we don't need to take care about the position in this case. So what are arguments? Keyword argument. associating the associating arguments with their corresponding parameter name. This is a very simple example of keyword arguments. Now, if I talk about default arguments. So, if I talk about default arguments, what if I want to put the value of C as 30 by default? Now the value of C here will be 30. Now will I get the value of C 30 or 40 here? I have told you that now the value of C will become 30 by default. So here what will happen is 40 will overlap with the value of C. We got 30. 20 minus 30 is minus 10 plus 40, 10. Sorry, 30. If I don't pass any value to C, now C has a value of 30 by default. Now C will remain 30 now. Okay. If I return value of C, it will be 30. If I give value 40, then it will become 40. So what if we don't pass any value to C, but we have a value, but if we give values of C by default, then it will take this value. But the priority that if we pass any value in the argument, that will overlap with the default value. So this is the default arguments. Default value passed to a default value assigned to a parameter while defining a function. Okay, so here I can give default value to B also, suppose 50. Now here value of B will not be 30. Sorry, value of B will not be 50, it will be 30. But if I now the value of B will be 40 here. If I remove this also, now default value of B will be used. If I return B here, it will give me 50, which is the default value of B. But A value will be remain 20 here. And also keep remember this thing that this will give you an error. What I have done, I have just shifted A to in the middle. This is wrong. Whenever you define a default value to a parameter, those default value parameter will always should be on the right side of the positional parameter. What did I say? Like here, it will not give us any error. Whatever the default value you create, it should be on the right side of the parameter which use positional argument. Like if I remove b default value and I assign a as 60, it will give you error. If you want to give a default value, then you need to shift that to the right side. Then only it will be correct. All default value parameters should always in the right side of the positional argument of the parameter which use positional value. This is important one. Okay. So I hope you understand types of arguments and the important note about default arguments. Now, now about if we come again towards the keyword argument, suppose suppose you want to apply a rule that this function can only use keyword arguments. It can't use positional arguments. So in that case, what can you do? You just need to put asterisk at the very first. Before any parameter you write, you need to write the asterisk. Now if I run this command, it will give us error because here we have used positional argument, and when we apply asterisk at the starting of all the parameters, then this function will only use keyword arguments. Here we have to apply keywords that to which parameter we want to pass these values. Now if I run this, we got our answer successfully. So no, again note for a keyword argument. If if the function only keyword argument, then put asterisk at the start of the parameters. Okay. So this way, this is basically apply a rule that you can use only positional arguments. Sorry, only keywords argument. What if I write here default? Will this give us the correct? Yes. Hit run. Okay. This is all about the arguments and parameters. Now we will talk about, suppose you have a variable nums. Okay. And you want to add, you have a variable nums and you don't know that how many values you want to pass to the num. What did I say? And you don't know that how many values I will pass to this num. Suppose when I call this function, I pass nums as a comma b comma c comma d, and again if I run this call this function and I only pass c comma d, I only pass three values, then again num, and I pass only two values. So there is, here I don't have fixed values that how many values will I pass to a single parameter. So here we use asterisk here before the parameter, before the we start the name of parameter with asterisk. It is completely different from the note I have written here for keyword. If I give you the example here, def, here we write function name, then we asterisk, then comma, and then our parameters. But we have right here asterisk at the starting of the parameter. And if I apply here addition using for loop, how do we do that? I will create a variable total 0. Now I will write for num in nums. Now what will I do? Total plus equals to num, and then print total. Okay, here it will be not nums, it will be add. So here, either writing A, B, C, D, I will write values as much as I want. And here I can pass any value. Okay, I have passed any values and I don't know that how many values will I pass. I can pass any number of values as much as my requirement is. So because that's why I have used for loop here. The values, so basically what happened here, the nums we have stored, you can see that it has stored a list of 30, 50, 60, 70, and we are storing all values one by one to the num, and total is doing plus of those values, and we are at last printing that total. Now if I run this command, we will got all our three values because we have called the function three times with different values. So this is how we got our output. Okay. So this is basically what is this? Variable length arguments. User does not have clear idea of number of arguments. Okay. I hope you understand how do we create the sum. Basically, we have assigned, we have created a variable total and assigned 0 to it. Now here 0 is stored in total. Now here what will happen? First num will become 30. Num will become 30 because num stored the list of all these values. Num will become 30. Then we move to the second line of code, total. What will be happening here? You have learned the assignment operators. Total value get updated with total plus num. Here total value we have assigned 0 and we have done plus 30. So our answer is 30. Now again there is a for loop, then we go to this. Now second time num will become what? 50. Now in the second step, our total, we have updated the value of total. Here total become 30 because we have assigned this value to the total. So it will become total plus num. What is the value of our total? Updated, which is 30. Then plus what is the value of our num now? It is 50. Then it becomes 30 plus 50, 80. Now again same, total is stored as 80. And num in third loop it becomes 60. Now our answer will become 80, 90, 20, 21, 22, 20, 24. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 140. Now again, for the last time our loop will run. For that our total is stored as 140 and our last value of num is 70. Then it will become 21. our answer will become 210, and here we got 210. So this is how is logic our works. So I hope you can understand what is the meaning of variable length argument when user don't have clear idea of number of arguments. Okay. So this is all about function and arguments. This function is a very important topic. If you have any doubt, you can comment. And if you want to give any feedback that how can I improve, then also comment below. So this is all for today. I hope you understand. Thank you.